Hey, today we've got three chapters from Second Samuel, chapters 8, 9, and 10. We see some of the battles that David takes place, that he wins, that he conquers, and then a couple of interesting stories after that. And then I want to show you the map of all what David is doing. It's pretty impressive what he is able to pull off. So let's just start in chapter 8 and follow along. After this, David defeated and subdued the Philistines by conquering Gath, their largest town. David also conquered the land of Moab. He made the people lie down on the ground in a row, and he measured them off in groups with a length of rope. He measured off two groups to be executed for every one group to be spared. The Moabites who were spared became David's subjects and paid him tribute money. David also destroyed the forces of Hadadezer, son of Rehob, king of Zobah. When Hadadezer marched out to strengthen his control along the Euphrates River, David captured 1,000 chariots, 7,000 charioteers, 20,000 foot soldiers. He crippled all the chariot horses except enough for 100 chariots. When Arameans from Damascus arrived to help Hadadezer, David killed 22,000 of them. And then he placed several army garrisons in Damascus, the Aramean capital, and the Arameans became David's subjects and paid him tribute money. So the Lord made David victorious wherever he went. David brought the gold shields of Hadadezer's officers to Jerusalem, along with a large amount of bronze from Hadadezer's towns of Teba and Berothai. When King Toi of Hamath heard that David had destroyed the entire army of Hadadezer, he sent his son Joram to congratulate King David for his successful campaign. Hadadezer and Toi had been enemies and were often at war. Joram presented David with many gifts of silver, gold, and bronze. King David dedicated all these gifts to the Lord, as he did with the silver and gold from the other nations he had defeated, from Edom, Moab, Ammon, Philistia, and Amalek, and from Hadadezer, son of Rehob, king of Zobah. So David became even more famous when he returned from destroying 18,000 Edomites in the Valley of Salt. He placed army garrisons throughout Edom, and all the Edomites became David's subjects. In fact, the Lord made David victorious wherever he went. So David reigned over all Israel and did what was just and right for all his people. Joab, son of Zeruiah, was commander of the army. Jehoshaphat, son of Ahilud, was the royal historian. Zadok, son of Ahitub, and Ahimelech, son of Abiathar, were the priests. Sariah was the court secretary. Benai, son of Jehoiada, was captain of the king's bodyguard. And David's sons served as priestly leaders. One day David asked, "Is anyone in Saul's family still alive? Anyone to whom I can show kindness for Jonathan's sake?" He summoned a man named Ziba, who had been one of Saul's servants. "Are you Ziba?" the king asked. "Yes, sir, I am," Ziba replied. The king then asked him, "Is anyone still alive from Saul's family? If so, I want to show you God's kindness to them." Ziba replied, "Yes, one of Jonathan's sons is still alive. He is crippled in both feet." "Lord, where is he?" "In Lodabar," Ziba told him, "at the home of Machir, son of Ammiel." So David sent for him and brought him to Machir's home. His name was Mephibosheth. He was Jonathan's son and Saul's grandson, and when he came to David, he bowed low to the ground in deep respect. David said, "Greetings, Mephibosheth." Mephibosheth replied, "I am your servant." "Don't be afraid," David said. "I intend to show kindness to you because of my promise to your father Jonathan. I will give you all the property that once belonged to your grandfather Saul, and you will eat here with me at the king's table." Mephibosheth bowed respectfully and exclaimed, "Who is your servant that you should show such kindness to a dog like me?" Then the king summoned Saul's servant Ziba and said, "I have given your master's grandson everything that belonged to Saul and his family. You and your sons and servants are to farm the land for him to produce food for your master's household. But Mephibosheth, your master's grandson, will eat here at my table." Ziba had 15 sons and 20 servants. Ziba replied, "Yes, my lord the king. I am your servant, and I will do all that you have commanded." And from that time on, Mephibosheth ate regularly at David's table, like one of the king's own sons. Mephibosheth had a young son named Micah. From then on, all the members of Ziba's household were Mephibosheth's servants. And Mephibosheth, who was crippled in both feet, lived in Jerusalem and ate regularly at the king's table. Sometime after this, King Nahash of the Ammonites died, and his son Hanun became king. David said, I'm going to show loyalty to Hanun just as his father, Nahash, was always loyal to me. So David sent ambassadors to express sympathy to Hanun about his father's death. But when David's ambassadors arrived in the land of Ammon, the Ammonite commanders said to Hanun, their master, do you really think these men are coming here to honor your father? No, David has sent them to spy out the city so they can come in and conquer it. So Hanun seized David's ambassadors and shaved off half of each man's beard, cut off their robes at the buttocks, and sent them back to David in shame. When David heard what had happened, he sent messengers to them. Stay at Jericho until your beards grow out and then come back, for they felt deep shame because of their appearance. When the people of Ammon realized how seriously they had angered David, they sent and hired 20,000 Aramean foot soldiers from the lands of Beth-rehob and Zobah, 1,000 from the king of Maacah, and 12,000 from the land of Tob. When David heard about this, he sent Joab and all his warriors to fight them. The Ammonite troops came out and drew up their battle lines at the entrance of the city gate, while the Arameans from Zobah and Rehob and the men from Tob and Maacah positioned themselves to fight in the open fields. When Joab saw that he would have to fight on both the front and the rear, he chose some of Israel's elite troops and placed them under his personal command to fight the Arameans in the fields. He left the rest of the army under the command of his brother Abishai, who was to attack the Ammonites. If the Arameans are too strong for me, then come over and help me, Joab told his brother. And if the Ammonites are too strong for you, I will come and help you. Be courageous. Let us fight bravely for our people in the cities of our God. May the Lord's will be done. When Joab and his troops attacked, the Arameans began to run away. And when the Ammonites saw the Arameans running, they ran from Abishai and they retreated into the city. After the battle was over, Joab returned to Jerusalem. The Arameans now realized that they were no match for Israel. So when they regrouped, they were joined by additional Aramean troops summoned by Hadadezer from the other side of the Euphrates River. These troops arrived at Helam under the command of Shobach, the commander of Hadadezer's forces. When David heard what was happening, he mobilized all of Israel they crossed the Jordan River and led the army to Helam. The Arameans positioned themselves in battle formation and fought against David. But again, the Arameans fled from the Israelites. This time, David's forces killed 700 charioteers and 40,000 foot soldiers, including Shobach, the commander of their army. When all the kings allied with Hadadezer saw that they had been defeated by Israel, they surrendered to Israel and became their subjects. After that, the Arameans were afraid to help the Ammonites. So we see some a lot of battles taking place, a lot of deaths taking place with David. David is taking back much of the land that had been lost during Saul's time of what was taking place. Now look at this map. We're going to look up higher, but we're looking at about 200 miles, over 200 miles of land that David is moving his troops up and back, north and south and west and east, doing all of these battles. It's like going from Louisville to Dollywood in Nashville. Troops moving, having to supply them with food and gear and everything. So it's pretty crazy. So let's take a look at what we see with David. So remember, Jerusalem, city of David, right here. So this is home base. Chapter 8 starts with David battling the Philistines in Gath. So we see them come to there. We see the battle lines are drawn, and David wins that battle. Next, he goes over to Moab, the country land of Moab, which is here, and he battles and defeats the Moabites. And remember, he lined them up, kept one group, killed two groups. Then he had to go north. He goes and fights Hadadezer, and it is up here. Let me go to the mouse to show you how much farther he has to travel for this. Okay, so there's Damascus. I didn't go up far enough. Let's go up even higher. Okay, Hamath right there. We see Hadadezer and the battles that are being fought all the way up here, and then has to come back down. And in Damascus, there's some more battles going on. Once he does all of that, he comes down to deal with the Edomites and defeats them. So obviously God is at work, because his troops, I'm not sure how much time has taken place between all of this, but he is battling back and forth, and God is taking care of him and taking care of everything that is taking place with him and his troops, taking care of the Israelites. And here's what we see, I guess, the main point, not only from the battles, but from what takes place at the end. The king had relied, when his dad died, he relied on his advisors. And just a good thing for us is that we have to have godly wisdom people around us. The king got horrible advice to say that David was going to secretly attack them. That was not David's intentions at all. And so when you have friends that aren't faithful to God, they are not going to give good advice. And so that's our challenge, is to seek godly wisdom through men and women who are close to us, that we can trust and that they trust God. Have a great day.